I'm Coach Amber, and welcome to the Meet RX Success Story podcast. And today we have Olivia with us, and she's going to tell us about her success story. Hi, Olivia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. So, Olivia, can you give us an idea of what your situation was like prior to starting Carnivore? Like, were you having any health issues or anything you were trying to address?
Absolutely. So my health issues kind of started out in my early 20s, pretty much as young as 20 years old. I lost my cycle. I started kind of losing my hair. It was starting to thin. My acne was really terrible. And just a host of other issues that go along with that. Joint pain, my sleep was really bad. I was living a bit of a high stress lifestyle as well. He was my boyfriend then, but my husband had been in a work accident. So we were dealing with surgeries and rehabilitation and everything. And a few years later, after I lived like that for, all that time, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's and PCOS. And after I got diagnosed with that, I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's just been, all those symptoms are what I've been living with for the past, 3 years. So after knowing that, I was on thyroid medication and I was still having a hard time, but I was also eating breads and sugars and all that. And I continued to do that for a while. And then I decided, enough is enough. I really need to get a handle on this. So I started doing paleo. So eating lots of meats, still eating vegetables, doing gluten-free, gluten-free stuff, staying away from dairy. I did that for a couple months and I saw no changes, nothing at all. And I was like, well, I had that kind of mindset, that mentality that like, well, if that's not going to help me, then, this is just the way it is. This is just how my life is going to be. Like, I started to settle into that. I'm just going to be heavier. I'm just going to always have to deal with these issues. And then finally, my 29th year, I was like, you hit that point where you're like, I can't live like this anymore. Like, this isn't living. I'm 29 years old. I lived my entire 20s being in pain or being so overweight, unable to sleep. I had enough. So I did a low carb diet through a program called Zingular. And it was a lot of like supplements and shakes and stuff like that. And it helped me for about a month, but the eating was like oven baked chicken with boiled spinach and broccoli. And then you take a shake and, after a couple of weeks, I was like, this sucks. Like, this doesn't taste good. Like, it's just not doing it for me. And that's when my parents actually said, oh, look at this guy on YouTube that we saw. His name's Sean Baker. And he's doing this carnivore diet where you eat just meat. I was like, you can't eat just meat. I'm like, that's crazy. Anyways, so I started looking into Sean Baker and the carnivore diet. And I was like, you know what do I have to lose? Honestly, I'm at my wit's end. I'm ready to do it. So I think it was December 2018 is when I started, and I didn't look back. Actually, I jumped right in to the 30 days of just meat and water and salt, and that was it for me. Like, that it worked. It worked.
That is so awesome. I love to hear that. That's very exciting. Okay, so you mentioned that you started out with just the meat, salt, and water. So that's how you started the diet. Has it changed for you at all? And when you started doing that, did you have any transitional issues?
I definitely had transitional issues. And I thought I wouldn't, because I was already doing that Zingular program, is no sugar, and it's very low carb. Like, you just eat rice, I think once a week or something like that. So I thought I wouldn't have any transitional issues, but I definitely did. And it was a lot of digestive issues and bowel issues at first. And I feel like that's every carnivore that you talk to at the beginning is like, be prepared, because you're going to have some sort of bowel issue. Yeah. And I definitely did. And I did have a little bit of like the kind of keto flu where you're groggy and your head's a bit foggy and everything. So that lasted for me for about, I would say probably an entire week or two of that. But one thing that I did notice right away was energy. Like even with the keto flu kind of having like the head fog and all that, I still felt so awake. And that's what kept me going, even through the, the transitional phase and everything. Just having that energy, I've never had that before. Like with my thyroid issues and Hashimoto's, like there is no tired like thyroid tired. It like every day was just exhausted and would have to take naps and everything. And I don't remember the last time I took a nap. Like the energy boost from Carnivore is instantaneous. And that's what keeps you going through the transitional phase, I think.
That's awesome. So what do you eat now? Like give us a typical day's worth of eating. I'm kind of curious to see what you're eating.
Sure. So now I do include dairy again. I'm a little bit iffy with it. It's something that I don't eat it every day because I do notice that I can have, depending on what the dairy is, it could cause a breakout or something for me, like on my face, or sometimes I can get a little bit bloated from it. But I do include like some sharp cheeses or some heavy whipping cream if I'm making like a gravy or something like that. But a typical day of eating for me, I'm a big ground beef girl. Like I love how it's so accessible and it's affordable and it's just so easy. Like you can just cook it from frozen and, like have a big old bowl of ground beef and it tastes so good. So I love ground beef. I love burgers. We eat steak quite a bit too. New York strip is kind of my favorite cut. So yeah, I usually eat in the afternoon. I'll do like a pound of ground beef and some eggs or something. Then later on in the evening, we'll do either chicken or steak or meatballs, or I just started getting into oxtail too. I don't know if you've had oxtail yet, but oh my goodness, that is something else. But so yeah, just usually about 1 to 2 meals a day depending, but mostly just meat.
Awesome. That sounds very similar to what I do. And I love ground beef too. That's probably, I don't know, 90% of what I eat. That and filet. So I get it. So now the best part. Can you tell us how things have changed for you? You talked about how you had all those issues in the beginning. So what's different now?
So I've cleared up almost 100% of my symptoms of PCOS and Hashimoto's since starting. And it was one thing that I was so surprised with is my cycle. And that's my biggest, like I lost over 70 pounds and I got all my energy back and my sleep got better and my joint pain went away. But one thing that really I'm flabbergasted with is how my cycle just immediately came back the first month. And it's been to the day, every single month, it has come exactly when it's supposed to come. And there's very little PMS symptoms attached to it. It was like, I mean, I went a decade sometime, like a decade of missed periods or no periods or never knowing when it was going to come or how long it was going to be there for. And that's so frustrating, especially as a young 20-something-year-old, like you shouldn't be having those problems. Like that shouldn't be a big issue for you. But yeah, it's my biggest non-scale victory. It's just having that regularity of my cycle and just knowing, being able to track myself, and honestly, so that was a big thing. And the weight loss, of course, the 70 pounds of weight loss was something I never thought would have been possible. When I was at my heaviest, I thought, this is just the way it's going to be. This is just my life. I'm just going to be overweight. So that was great too. Hair growth, my hair has been growing like crazy. I even have I get like the baby hairs and stuff that annoy me to no end, but I never thought I was balding in some spots from the thyroid issue and all that. So that was another one too. I'm just, all of the symptoms cleared up with carnivore, all of them. It's crazy still, even when I think about it.
That is amazing. I love hearing that. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It makes such a difference. You'll be surprised how many people can relate to you. And I'm so glad you didn't give up. I'm so glad.
Oh, thanks. No,
And thank you.
I like being able to share it. I think it's really helpful to people starting out because it's such, it can be very alienating when you first start this way of eating, as I'm sure you know. Because other people, it's hard to understand. It's definitely a diet that is not quite mainstream. So I totally understand people that they want to hear the success stories, and I'm more than happy to share. I will talk carnivore all day long.
I love that. Yeah, you ought to be an interviewer.
Yeah,
That's kind of why I do what I do, because I love hearing all the stories, and I think it's
right?
so
It
important
becomes a
to get it
passion.
out there.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
finally see like a way of living that you didn't think was going to be possible, and just feeling this good. Like the carnivore glow is an actual thing because it starts from the inside and it shows outwardly, and it just, the confidence that I've also gotten from this is crazy. I could never go on camera before. Never. No way. I would avoid the camera at all costs. Now I'm like, all right, you want to have an interview? Sure.
That is so funny because I feel the exact same way. I would have never thought I would be in front of a camera and doing this, because
Right?
I was like the camera ninja. It came out and well, I was gone. And now it's like I'm doing this. So I totally get the confidence part as well as the health. So that's amazing. And again, thank you so much for coming on this show and sharing your story. Greatly appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having me.
And you have a wonderful day in Canada.
Thanks, you
Bye,
too.
Olivia.
Bye.